Urbina, CEO in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and E-Governance, Ms. Alexia Peralta, Director of the E-Governance and Digitalization Unit. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of the Cabinet Secretary and Chief of Staff, Ambassador Stuart Leslie, other ministers and CEOs, specially invited guests, staff of the E-Governance and Digitalization Unit, members of the media, our viewers online. In November 2020, the government of Belize named a new ministry, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and E-Governance. This signaled the commitment of the government to be progressive and one that was committed to a government that is inclusive, open, innovative, and open to embracing new technologies for the betterment of the government. One of the leaders in that ministry is CEO Jose Urbina, whom I'd like to now invite to deliver welcome remarks. CEO.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. It is with distinguished honor that I welcome the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable John Briceño, Ministers of Cabinet, and of course highlighting the Minister of Youth, Sports and E-Governance, Honorable Kevin Bernard, Cabinet Secretary, Chief Executive Officers, members of the Diplomatic Corps, IDB Representative Mr. Ramiro Guillo, special invited guests, the media, and of course those of you watching on live stream. I welcome you to the launch of the digital agenda. I begin by quoting the words of Woodrow Wilson. Administration is the most obvious part of government. It is the government in action. It is the executive. It is the operative. The most visible side of government. And of course, as old as government itself. Effective administration accomplishes wonders. This can only be achieved by a competent administration along with a competent team. In this era of the data revolution, many governments struggle to make informed, data-driven decisions to communicate meaningfully with stakeholders. While we strive to serve citizens as successfully as possible, outdated government technology and laws impede full effectiveness. Today, with great pride, the E-Governance and Digitalization Unit under the Ministry of Youth, Sports and E-Governance proudly presents one of its greatest accomplishments, and I strongly believe it's the first of many, the National Digital Agenda. I take this opportunity to also mention the National E-Governance Task Force for all the effort and time to engage stakeholders at the start of this process. To you, I am grateful for all the guidance and meaningful comments and dynamic discussions. You might be asking yourselves, what is the National Digital Agenda and why is it so important? Allow me to say, this is a plan that details the transformative strategy of public services and by extension, the lives of our people. It ensures a resilient, customer-centric, and easy-to-use interface, along with an interoperable system to facilitate the exchange and sharing of data within the public and private sectors, and ultimately decreasing cost and improving the quality of service we provide to our people. As the Prime Minister mentioned some weeks ago at the Investment Summit, the ease of doing business is imperative to the economic recovery of our country. Today, the National Digital Agenda provides a way forward. However, we must align our strategies to ensure the economic impact is achieved. Increasing revenue collection, increasing attractiveness for investors, improving service delivery for businesses, improving transparency, and reducing cost to government procurement, and in addition to improving financial management in government. Of course, the way forward is not the sole responsibility of the e-governance and digitalization unit or the ministry, but our collective collaboration to ensure that as a government, as one government, we align our resources to make this plan a success. In everything we do, let's think digitally, considering the digital maturity of each ministry, and from there moving forward. It is our collective partnership to champion digital services that will allow us to reach our objectives. As a single government, I challenge all ministries to continue breaking the silos while embracing and upholding our respective mandates. It is imperative that we communicate with each other to reduce duplicity and increase efficiency. Only together can we accomplish our mission in transforming our nation. Digital transformation is not an exact science, but there's a process to implementation. It is merely about creating websites, creating databases, or determining what hardware specifications are needed, but rather, it begins with having a vision, building trust in government services, which determines the list of ingredients to be successful. As we transform, considering the human factor, the change management process at a very early stage is crucial. Without people, without you, and without the citizens, we are unable to execute and failure is imminent. Our people need to understand and speak digital transformation. The efficient use of technology in the work produced by our public servants is crucial. With this agenda, our public servants will be able to demonstrate knowledge of current ICTs and the skills to use them adeptly. This, along with the terms like re-engineering of processes, interoperability frameworks, cybersecurity, are a few other important factors to consider as we incorporate technology in a more meaningful process and services. I challenge all ministries to join hands in sharing their current technical implementations. The re-engineering of processes is vital to a customer-centric development of applications. With this agenda, we will decrease duplicity, reduce bureaucratic procedures, and develop meaningful applications. This will ultimately lead to improved services and a reduction in the cost of providing these services. Moving forward, the most important question in our departments or units will be, what is needed to ease the pain of our citizens and stimulate economic activity? As we move forward, we must not forget the legal framework is of utmost importance. We cannot transform our nation without embracing enacted legislations and considering legislative reform. Today, in partnership with the Public-Private Desk and the Ministry of the Attorney General, we can boast of important e-legislation that are fundamental to fostering digital services. Legislation reform is unavoidable. Therefore, we must move swiftly in identifying these gaps to strengthen the foundational requirements to successfully implement the National Digital Agenda. To implement the once-only rule, we must ensure the interoperability of platforms while ensuring that the data sharing strategies comply with e-legislations. In partnership with the Ministry of Home Affairs and New Growth Industries, the enactment of appropriate cybersecurity net framework will ensure data protection. This is key in allowing us to building trust and resilience in our ability to protect citizen data. Cybersecurity is a major pillar of the digital agenda. We cannot ignore the socio-economic impact of a digital government. Increased transparency and reduced corruption, increasing efficiency and effectiveness to service delivery. These gains can only be achieved by automating the service delivery. Today, let's join hands to ensure we transform the lives of our people and boost economic growth and the use of technology. Once again, I welcome you all to the launch of the digital agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. One thing we can say that seems often cliche, but that COVID has shown us is a truth, is that the only constant is change. And so far we've been seeing that, and already the government of Belize is realizing that with the launch of platforms such as the Belize Motor Vehicle Registration and Licensing System, BELAPS. I believe also this year, the Ministry of Human Development also launched a digital platform and also software such as Iris Belize. Now, the minister who is charged with seeing continuity of this is Honorable Kevin Bernard, and he will now be addressing us on embracing digital government. Minister?
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister, Ministers of Cabinet, CEO, representatives from IDB, CEOs in the ministries, Ambassador, welcome. I want to, first of all, before I start, to ask if we can kindly give our team at the e-governance unit a big round of applause. I start today by thanking the Prime Minister for his confidence in appointing me the Minister responsible for e-governance, a new but critical portfolio, and one which allowed the nation, our government and people to take a giant leap forward in technology, in development, in growth across all sectors, and of course, in accessibility to government services. Welcome, my friends, to the new digital era of governance in this country. Digital government is defined as the use of digital technologies as an integrated part of government's modernization strategies to create public value. It relies on a digital government ecosystem comprised of government actors, non-governmental organizations, businesses, citizens associations, and individuals, which supports the production of and access to data services and content through interactions with the government. What that means simply is that government will embrace digitalization as the engine which will empower the provision of all its services and the access to all services offered by government. Digital government on a global scale is designed to strengthen public governance and to make governments more accountable, efficient, and effective. This is what this administration promised our people: accountability in an era where accountability in government had become non-existent. Efficient and effective governance at a time when it is not only demanded, but by the changing world around us, but is critical as a global pandemic threatens our way of life. We are here, where we are today, did not happen overnight, and it could not, because the transition to a digital government is a monumental undertaking. It was necessary for our team to define a clear governance framework, which could only be possible through a mandate from the highest levels of this administration. So once again, Prime Minister, I thank you for that vision, and I thank you for having us lead this charge. We also needed to identify and allocate powers and resources to the public sector organization responsible to steer the design and coordinate the implementation of the digital government strategy across the public sector. I am grateful, as always, for the vision and support of my friend and cabinet colleague, Henry Charles Usher, the Minister of Public Service, whose leadership will be critical in the implementation of the national digital agenda across the public service. It was also necessary for our team to update the legal and regulatory frameworks as highlighted by our CEO in order to safeguard citizens' digital rights and incorporate the potential implications of increasing use of emerging technologies and data into existing legal safeguards. This was no easy task, but there could be no digital government without the supporting legislations. Today, there are 6 new and comprehensive pieces of legislation which cover every aspect of digitalization, ensuring that the rights of our people are protected in every instance. These new acts also deal in detail with digital threats, including cyberbullying and the use of digital means to threaten or cause harm. And of course, there is legislation to promote and protect every manner of e-commerce and the provision of services in the digital arena, with very stiff penalties for those who break those laws and use the opportunities presented by digitalization for harm or criminal actions. There are so many people to thank, because this was truly a collaborative effort. By collaborative, I mean invaluable assistance from our regional partners like the IDB and Complete Caribbean, our Attorney General and her team, partners from the public and private sector, and the public, whose input we sought and whose input we will need throughout the process of digitalization. I know that our e-governance and digitalization unit has a presentation planned which will go into greater detail, but I could not sit without acknowledging the work of the unit led by Alexia Peralta, our director. What they have been able to achieve is laudable on so many levels, and the work they have put in will be evident in the days and months ahead. On a personal note, let me say that I am proud and excited to be a part of this revolutionary movement. If I could borrow and paraphrase the words of the father of the nation, a part of a peaceful, constructive digital revolution. We all know and have felt the frustration of being far behind as technology passes us by. I have felt the pain of persons who are forced to travel from as far as Punta Gorda to Belize City to access services at the Vital Statistics Department, only to be told that they must come back the very next day. In so many government offices, there are mountains, heaps of paper records going back years. And I always wonder, what would happen in the event of a fire? Those days must be put behind us, and I am happy to say they will soon be. I close by emphasizing that the National Digital Agenda, ladies and gentlemen, is a collective effort by all government of Belize entities, the private sector, and the general public. And through this effort, we will change how businesses is done in Belize. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for highlighting the importance of this launch today. Now, without any further delay, I'd like to invite our Prime Minister, Honorable John Brisenia, to make keynote remarks. Prime Minister.
Chief of Staff and CEO, where's my tablet? To make I look bad. I push digitization and now you have it with paper. And the man got one tablet. Good morning, everyone. And thank you all for joining us today. Minister Bernard, since this is a digital event, I'm sure that additional from everybody that's here, I'm told that it is it's being streamed on Facebook and other areas. So that's wonderful. Today is certainly a day, one we should be very proud of. I'm sure that the group here at the e-governance are extremely proud. And when I look at them, I know that I can't be a part of them. Lone young people are part of this e-governance. And don't get any idea as Chief of Staff, you don't belong there either. I'm sure that you all are very proud for this moment when we are launching Belize's first national digital agenda. I'm told with its implementation, our nation will now pivot towards a digital nation. Of course, we're able to do this 1 year into my administration because of partners like the IDB. Ramiro, muchas gracias to the IDB, whose help is indispensable. And I must say also to the government of Taiwan. David, thank you again very much. To the IDB, we say thank you for helping us charter a new way and for helping us to elaborate this transformative and modernization plan. This initiative is in partial fulfillment of another of our planned Belize initiatives and is directly about delivering on our commitment to transforming lives. The National Digital Agenda is more than about the present. It is also about meeting the challenges of tomorrow. It is about being a part of our desire to see improvements in education, about having better access to affordable mobile and data plans, access to health care, reducing poverty and unemployment. Indeed, it is about addressing corruption, inequality, the digital divide, cybersecurity, economic challenges, and yes, it's about global pandemics. For sure, the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us that harnessing the power of technology is not a thing of the future, but of the present. How many young people have you seen opening up businesses online? I mean, imagine you could order your beer online, some food online. Even skincare products, you could go online here in Belize and order what is it that you need. And all of that is being done by young people with very little money. That's what digitization is doing, opening up new opportunities for us, especially our young people who in many instances feel that there are not opportunities for them unless if they have access to a lot of cash or credit. How do we maximize our current strengths to capture the hope of a digital nation? The answer lies in our collective action and forward thinking to embed technology at all levels of society to overcome our challenges. Our transformation requires every Belizean, business and government entity to embrace digital as our core. The National Digital Agenda positions digital transformation and ICT as a core pillar in our new chapter. It represents our unwavering commitment to achieving a Belize that works for everyone. Our commitment to this vision is why we established a Ministry of E-Governance, because we know the vital role that information and communication technology could play in Belize's rapid and disruptive transformation. And I must take a break at this moment to acknowledge the incredible work that Minister Bernard and his team have done. I don't think it would have been possible without that energy and that zeal and that commitment that Kevin has brought to setting up a ministry from nothing to today working towards, the digital transformation that we so need in Belize. He is so good at what he was doing that he stole one of my employees without even checking with me. And as we said in Spanish, se fue sin un adiós. When I saw her next, she was working with you. But congratulations, my brother Kevin. I am so proud of what you and your team have been doing. The National Digital Agenda positions digital transformation and ICT, as I mentioned, as a core pillar in our new chapter. It represents our unwavering commitment to achieving a Belize that works for everyone. Through its e-governance and digitization unit, the ministry has worked across government entities and with external partners to develop a plan that addresses your needs. The adoption of digital technologies is our pathway to that vision for a better tomorrow. Digital technologies will allow us to improve traditional inefficient systems to facilitate service delivery and create new opportunities. The government's transformation will form the bedrock for change at all levels. But beyond the promise of a more efficient government service, digital transformation is about creating public value and simply disrupting the way we do things. If we only take a step back and look, digital technologies such as social media, video conferencing platforms, and e-commerce platforms have allowed many citizens to become entrepreneurs and allow for distant learning and virtual medical consultations. Just imagine if we did not have access to this technology, our schools would have been shut down completely for a year and a half. But because of the access of these digital platforms and Zoom and so many other platforms, the Ministry of Education has managed to keep the so-called doors of schools open to this day. That is what digital transformation means to our country. Imagine then what more we could achieve if we truly unlock the potential of ICT. Of course, this will require hard work and strategic investment to build the foundation for a digital nation. Government alone cannot achieve this transformation. To truly leap forward and become leaders in a digital economy, we will need to build strong partnerships with development partners, the private sector, civil society, and the public. This digital agenda charters a new way for placing citizens at the center of our public reform agenda. To create this enabling environment, the National Digital Agenda 2022-2025 aims to invest in key areas to strengthen our infrastructure, build digital capacities, and transform the way government operates. It is our vision that through the successful implementation of the digital agenda built on a strong foundation of partnership, openness, and inclusions, that citizens will begin to trust in government services. For public trust is necessary to overcome the fear of change and build robust relationships and a unified vision. It will be remiss of me not to mention some of the key foundational work leading up to today's launch. I'm referring specifically to the suite of 5 new laws recently enacted in the National Assembly. These new laws outline the framework for data sharing within the public sector, electronic evidence in court procedures, and the protection of data privacy for all citizens. There are laws which also create offenses for instances of electronic fraud, and laws which set the foundation upon which e-government and e-commerce can truly and securely take off in Belize. These laws were developed through technical assistance from the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, under the Compete Caribbean project, leveraging digital technology for improving the business climate in Belize. This project is being implemented by my office through the Economic Development Council and seeks specifically to undertake the digitization of key public services in a holistic way, considering the need for system development, as well as processing re-engineering, legislative amendments, and critically, change management. Just as exciting are these projects and initiatives, we will see in 2022 the rollout of a national ID. And many would say, well, what's so exciting about a national ID? When, come to think about it, how long does it take to open a bank account? It takes weeks, sometimes it takes you months to open a bank account. And whenever I talk to the managers of these institutions, I tell them, why does it have to take so long? And they all say in one word, if we can have a national ID, within days, we can open a bank account. Just imagine with a national ID, a lot of people that do not have access to credit can use a national ID to access to credit. We have tens of thousands of Belizeans that do not have access to credit. But with a digital ID, it will make it so much easier for them, opening up more markets, growing the economy, creating opportunities. It is something exciting, ladies and gentlemen, for us to finally come up with a national ID for everyone, for all of our citizens. The modernization of the vital statistics. Imagine, you have to go on a line to apply for a birth certificate. Whenever you pass on Queen Street, I mean, you see people lining up there. People coming from the Toledo district have to be there on the line from before 6 o'clock. And some instances, 3 o'clock when they close, they still haven't gotten any service. Imagine from Santa Elena, Corozal to Jalacte in the Toledo district. You can go online and order and apply for your birth certificate or death certificate. Or for our diaspora in the United States or anywhere in the world, you can go online and access your information. That's what digital transformation means to the ordinary citizen of this country. The new passport system. We have an archaic passport system that's crashing, that's not working. And the Minister of Immigration came to us at the start of our year and said, we need a new modern system that can have biometrics, all the security checks that we need, that will make it easier for Belizeans to travel, to go to the European Union and countries in the EU, anywhere, because we are going to have the correct information for people to make it so much easier for us to travel. And as a government, despite the challenges that we have found approximately $20 million to invest in a new system, that even our diaspora will be able to apply for their passports digitally. And we hope that by the middle of 2022, Monche, we'll be able to launch this product. These are July. These are the things that touches the lives of all our citizens. I know many people are talking, well, what about this? What does this mean? Having or launching, a digital program for Belize, it means nothing to them. But when we talk about making services easier for them, that is what digitization means for our citizens. In the Ministry of Natural Resources, Petroleum and Mining, we will improve the digital lands registry to help with improved governance. Again, so many people want to use their titles to be able to, their land titles to invest or to borrow at the bank. And it takes them months, and it frustrates me when people are telling me, I can't get my land registered, or I can't get a response on the land registry. When it is your own land and you can't use it to be able to invest and keeps back investments in this country. How many investors, foreign investors come to this country and can't get access or do their land transactions? And it creates problems because then they start to wonder whether things are running smoothly in this country or not, or whether they will be cheated out of their land or their investments. This is what digitization means all about. That soon, we hope that you can go online and be able to do your land transactions and transfer your lands and to be able to get it approved so that you can go to the bank and invest your land. Or for foreign investors to come in and continue to invest millions of dollars in this country, creating jobs and opportunities for Belize. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what the National Digital Agenda is all about. Touching the lives of people. It is time. It is time for change. And the change starts now. It starts today with the launching of this National Digital Agenda, thanks to Kevin and his team. The time for advancement for a more digitized nation is now. The time has come for Belize to become truly a digital nation. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for those remarks. Challenges, solutions, digital transformation, and exciting times ahead. And I think the Prime Minister's remarks are the perfect segue to move into the unveiling of the National Digital Agenda. And to do that, I'd like to invite the Director of the E-Governance and Digitalization Unit, Ms. Alexia Peralta.
Good morning, everyone. Prime Minister, Honorable John Bersenio, Minister Kevin Bernard, Mr. Ramiro Lopez Dio, IDB Representative, Minister Henry Charles Usher, Cabinet Secretary, CEO Jose Urbina, Honorable Ministers, Chief Executive Officers, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen at home, a pleasant good morning to everyone. I would like to first acknowledge the excellent work of my team alongside the elemental support of our colleagues at the IDB, Maria Ines Vasquez, Arturo Muentes, the consultants, Ciro Alonso, Kieran Bernabe, the entire ministry staff, ministers, CEOs, my colleagues across the public service, our private sector partners, thank you. Today's event would not have been possible without everyone's hard work and dedication to achieve true change. Our Honorable Prime Minister and Minister Kevin Bernard have spoken about why digital transformation is vital for our resiliency and development, and how this will help us to meet citizens' demands. I will now explain how this transformation will be achieved. Globally, and in the past few years, digital agendas have become an important guiding instrument for the digitalization of countries. They represent the strategic framework and plan of action to address key areas necessary to build a digital society where citizens and the private sector are key players in driving the digitalization process. It also highlights the areas for strategic investment by the government and partners to drive transformation and change the way government currently interacts with its citizens. Our national digital agenda has been developed utilizing a comprehensive methodology to identify the main challenges and priorities regarding digitalization in the country. It involves stakeholder consultations and surveys executed through the Statistical Institute of Belize and a local researcher to determine areas of priority, challenges, and factors associated with e-government acceptance in the Belizean context. In so doing, we have guaranteed to prioritize areas of citizen demand to maximize public value and focus on creating a trustworthy and accessible environment for digital services. It will require us to collectively rethink our policies, strategies, and governance to promote the use of digital technologies across public service while creating public value for citizens and boosting innovation in the private sector. The National Digital Agenda is built on a comprehensive analysis of national, regional, and international strategies and frameworks to ensure that its implementation achieves tangible results. The amalgamation of these policies, frameworks, and your inputs have resulted in a national vision and priorities for the next 4 years. As such, the National Digital Agenda is the blueprint to shared prosperity and towards a digital Belize. Therefore, it is my distinct honor on behalf of my team and the ministry to unveil Belize's first National Digital Agenda, our blueprint to transformation. Hi everyone, I'm Alexia Peralta, the Director of the E-Governance and Digitalization Unit, and I'm here to tell you about Belize's first National Digital Agenda 2022-2025 towards a digital Belize. The National Digital Agenda represents our collective vision to transform our country into a digital nation. It is an integrated transformation and modernization plan for the next 4 years to address key areas from digital infrastructure and connectivity to inclusion, open government, innovation, and cybersecurity. It is our unified vision to build trust in government services by providing reliable, inclusive, safe, and efficient digital solutions for citizens, businesses, and employees. This plan of action will enable the government to enter a period of rapid and disruptive transformation to improve service delivery, strengthen governance, and create public value. The digital agenda aims to achieve 3 high-level strategic goals. 1. Transforming the way government operates. 2. Developing a digital culture and society. And 3. Building the foundation for future digital transformation. How will we achieve this? The digital agenda is built on 3 main pillars. 1. ICT and technology enablers. 2. Digital government. And 3. Digitalization for recovery. These pillars have a set of programs for the next 4 years, which will contribute to achieve the 3 high-level strategic goals. Under the ICT and Technology Enablers pillar, we will focus on expanding connectivity in Belize, improving digital infrastructure, implementing an e-services portal, strengthening national data centers, and driving digital inclusion. Under the digital government pillar,
we will focus on improving the regulatory environment, simplifying services, implementing a national identity, digitalizing the civil registry, developing open government platforms, implementing the cybersecurity strategy, and building capacity. Under the Digitalization for Recovery pillar, we will focus on improving digital literacy for all, implementing the National Innovation Strategy, supporting business innovation, achieving teleeducation and digital health, and supporting the transformation of the tourism and agriculture sector. The National Digital Agenda is an actionable plan to bring forth a more citizen-centric government and create public value. It is dependent on a strong partnership and collaboration amongst government, citizens, development partners, and industry, all working together to deliver the plan's vision. Together, we will achieve the country's transformation.
This message is brought to you by the E-Governance and Digitalization Unit under the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and E-Governance.
Thank you, everyone. So we now invite you to join us to a new digital era and a new digital Belize.
Thank you very much, Alexia, for that exciting presentation. And I have one question. Will teleporting be a part of the future? Because I saw you teleporting. As Alexia mentioned, key to this has been her team, and so I'd like to invite the members of the E-Governance and Digitalization Unit to please stand to be acknowledged. Thank you very much. This project has had the support of the Inter-American Development Bank, and to make remarks on behalf of the bank is the country representative, Mr. Ramiro Lopez Gio.
Hello, good morning. I don't have my device well. I would say that Mr. Fonseca and Sabanet deliver all for online education. Congrats for that effort. Good morning, Prime Minister, Ministers, Chief of Staff and Cabinet Secretary, CEOs, directors from the government, officials, David, Ambassador from Taiwan, and Diplomatic Corps. A pleasure to be here today for the launch of this digital agenda, a significant milestone towards advancing the digital transformation of the country. I would like to thank the government for trusting the IDB and providing us this opportunity to contribute to this great country. Great, Mr. Kevin, that you have the support from the Prime Minister, because you will have a great effort and you have to persuade all ministers in order to move forward to this agenda. This is a collective action and all the government should be in tune for that. So you have to maintain the support with him. Some things about the digital transformation. It's key for enabling opportunities for all, as the Prime Minister said. Increase and improve digital infrastructure and connectivity will promote the private sector investment and economic growth. And this is what we need in order to boost employment and to reduce poverty. Something that is really important here, the development is a moving train. So if we don't catch it, we will lose opportunities. Other nations are also doing the same. They are catching this train of digital transformation. So we need to move and we need to catch that train in order to provide opportunities for all. Otherwise, in relative terms, will be worse. So I would like to congratulate the government for this effort. It's in almost less than a year, we start working and we are presenting a plan for the next 4 years. We are not working in the last part of the government, we are working at the beginning. And this is the way, and congratulations for this. What COVID shows is that countries with higher levels of digitalization were better prepared for the crisis, and now they are having a faster recovery. So this is the way that we need to move. So I would like to congratulate the government also for this comprehensive agenda. I will not talk about agenda, I would like to talk about strategy. And the key here will be comprehensive. Because we are seeing infrastructure for improving connectivity and access for all. We are seeing digital government for better services. And let me add some numbers to this. Digital transactions take on average in the region 76% less time than face-to-face interaction. 76%. And of course, they are cheaper. The cost is 5% of the cost of manual procedures. And of course, I should say that they are less vulnerable to corruption. So we have a comprehensive agenda, infrastructure, digital services, and closing the gap for skill gaps. Closing the digital gap will be key for innovation. And the way that we do things need to be changed in order to have greater human capital in education and in health, and of course in the productive sector, in key sectors like tourism and agriculture for the country that represent 40% and more than 15% of the GDP. It's very important to include this in education. Why? Because it was proved that education will not increase, will not be developed with more budget, with more computers, with more professors. We need to change the way that we are teaching. And we need to reduce the digital gap also for students. This is the way that we need. The world is completely different. It's changing so fast, and we need to be in tune for that. And let me say something about the productivity. When we increase 10% in additional investment in ICT, productivity of the firms will grow by 0.25%. And also, in that case, the employees will add 3.4% more productivity. So the government is going in the right direction. And it needs to overcome this crisis and development challenges. We need to reactivate the productive sector. We need to promote social progress, and we need to strengthen good governance and institutional capacity. So congratulations for this, and please be sure that the IDB is here to support you. I'm really glad to announce the preparation of a new program together with the government for digitalization of the economy. Thank you so much, and please come with the IDB. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gio. The slogan for this launch is, or for the National Digital Agenda, is Towards a Digital Belize, Building Trust in Government Services. And of course, key to this will be the public service. And so, of course, it's no surprise that we are joined here today by Honorable Henry Charles Usher, Minister of Public Service, Constitutional and Political Reform. Minister?
Good morning, everyone. Prime Minister, Ambassador, it's good to see everyone here, members of the media as well. When I told my children I was speaking at the launch of the National Digital Agenda, they were in shock. You see, in our household, for me to be able to utilize a program or an app, it not only has to be user-friendly, it has to be dad-friendly. But having said that, and accepting that I must do better with my digital immersion, and after listening to Ms. Peralta, I believe anything is possible, I do recognize that government must undergo a digital transformation in order to deliver services and programs more efficiently, transparently, and cost-effectively. Today, digital government has become critical to meet the expectations of the modern Belizean citizen. By offering end-to-end digital transactions via online customer portals and mobile apps, GOB can increase customer satisfaction, compliance, and, very important, Prime Minister, revenue. To implement this digital transformation, government must have a clear idea of what success looks like from the perspectives of the users of this technology. It all boils down to trust, says Suma Nalapati, the Chief Information Officer for the Governor's Office of Information Technology in the state of Colorado. He said, citizens need to trust the government, and from an IT perspective, we can do that by deploying secure, reliable, efficient, effective, and elegant technology that is designed with human use in mind. Therefore, I am very pleased to have this opportunity to express my support for the National Digital Agenda, with its pledge to aid in a unified vision of building trust in government services. I would like to congratulate my good friend and colleague, Honorable Kevin Bernard, CEO Urbina, and their team. And as the Prime Minister said, this is a young woman and a young man game. And their team for this revolutionary step forward. Building Belize's digital infrastructure is in line with Plan Belize and a realization that Belizeans want more than value for money. They are seeking responsive, living services that fit seamlessly into their lives. Recently, I asked a business owner about the Iris online tax platform. She said that the platform was easy to understand and use, but it took her company almost a month to get fully enrolled. Why? Nobody answered the phone when issues came up with the enrollment process. This underscores a critical component. The digital platform still needs efficient, trained, accessible human resources to make it run well. A recent Wall Street Journal workplace technology headline said, "It's time to get rid of the IT department." And before the heads of IT departments across the public service start to worry, no, I'm not recommending that these posts become redundant. But this article was very eye-opening, making the case that IT is used every day in every office by every employee. So the same way you wouldn't allocate resources for a separate paper department or a pen department, why allocate for an IT department that is separate and distinct from your core business? In other words, the modern public officer, in fact, every public officer, must have a working knowledge of IT functions for the government department or ministry to work as efficient and effective as possible. I am very proud then that the Ministry of Public Service is partnering with the e-governance and digitalization unit. We are excited about the synergy of public services and fully intend to utilize IT as a core element in achieving the best delivery of services to the people of Belize at home and abroad. We understand how critical core operations, processes, and systems are to the evolution of an organization. By embedding innovation and new ways of working, we can seize the opportunities that change provides and stride into an uncertain future with confidence. The Smart Cities movement is taking hold with communities where everything is interconnected. Citizens benefit by receiving better governance and service in everything from public safety, mobility, and health care. Collaboration of both public and private sectors is essential to achieve success. And with this unit as the lead, the commitment to collaborate with all partners to achieve universal connectivity and the application of technology will certainly be realized. It is our responsibility to ensure that this digital transformation fulfills its promise to build trust in government services, as well as optimize opportunities and facilitate economic recovery through digitalization. I'm encouraged to see the level of commitment to this national digital agenda. As we look forward to the future, it is my hope that we can build on this and pool our resources for the common good. I once again congratulate the Governance and Digitalization Unit and wish them every success. My one request is that you make the technology not only user-friendly, but dad-friendly as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Usher. And that wraps up this part of our program for today, but we'd now like to invite members of the media to ask questions. We have about 15 minutes allotted to you, so I ask that you be brief and to the point with your questions, and also it must be solely on today's event. I'd also like to ask you to please start by introducing yourself and name the media house you're representing. We do have a roving mic, so whenever you're ready.
Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, ministers, Prime Minister, good morning. I'm Dale McDougall from Love FM. Maybe the Prime Minister and the Minister of the Public Service could weigh in on this particular question. This whole digital shift that the government is undertaking, is this part of the government's agenda to reach final implementation of the UNCAC in relation to improving effectiveness of the public service?
Thank you very much for such question. As we have always said, our government is fully committed to the implementation of UNCAC. And what we have done as it is, we've already introduced a number of legislation already in the National Assembly, and also waiting on our social partners to comment on some other pieces of legislation before we take it to the National Assembly. We're about to announce the appointment of the Integrity Commission. We're just waiting now to hear from the leader of the opposition, and then we will be doing that hopefully this week or early next week. Digitization certainly is a part of it. It makes transparency and accountability in governance so much easier, because once you do it digitally, there is always a digital print that you could always go back to. It allows you also, even us providing services in government, that you go as you log in, as opposed to you go to the office and then you scratch somebody back and then your file come to the top, for instance. So this is certainly a way of making us as government more accountable and more transparency and more transparent. But also it allows us to be more efficient, which is something that is sorely lacking in the way we provide our services to our citizens.
Thanks, PM. And just to add to what the PM said, I think it's important that the theme of the digital agenda, building trust in government service, is a critical one. The last 13 years or so, people lost trust in government. That's why the cry came for institutions like the UN Convention Against Corruption and other international conventions to be implemented. Now, this part of this digital agenda is to build back that trust, build back that partnership between the citizens and the government institutions, the ministries, the departments. This is definitely a step forward in that direction. It will help our citizens to feel comfortable in complying with the laws, complying with the taxes that they have to pay, making sure that government has the revenue to carry out the programs and services that it needs to do. So it's all about building the trust, building the partnership, and making sure that we work together in synergy forward. Thanks.
And to follow up with that, Prime Minister, I know that I would imagine that this shift towards a digital, an e-government, if you may, is sort of modernizing the way we interact with our government and draw down on services. But how do you respond to the criticism that perhaps one of the first steps that needs to be taken in order to bridge these type of gaps is to improve internet penetration, particularly in rural communities? And in order to improve internet penetration or to resolve issues centered on internet penetration, we first have to provide electricity to some of those communities. And secondly, how do people drawing down on these services can feel comforted in knowing that their personal documents, when they upload it to these websites, for example, are protected from fraud?
I will answer the first part, and I'll ask Kevin to answer the second one. On the first part is that as a government, we have been in discussions with BTL. BTL owes the government millions of dollars. And we're discussing the idea of, instead of them writing us a check, is to be able then to use that monies to be able to expand services into villages where they don't have access, in particularly in the south. Because if we are going to move towards a digital economy, then we have to ensure that everyone, from the richest to the poorest, and from every corner, north to south, east to west, can have access to digital services. I'll ask Kevin, the Minister, to answer the second one.
Thank you. I want to just add as well to what the Prime Minister just mentioned, and what is critical in terms of what the unit and the plan speaks about is in terms of reaching out and having access, especially to our far rural communities. We have been able to team up with the embassy of the Taiwanese embassy and developing digital labs in the rural communities that will allow citizens to have access to these services. But in terms of your second question, in terms of having citizens feel secure that their data will be protected, we just recently passed some major legislation, and the legislation on data protection speaks specifically to that. And that was what was also highlighted in the presentation. It also speaks about the cybersecurity framework that will also be developed and built on. But definitely citizens can rest assured that through the legislation that we pass, their data will be protected.
And finally, for me, Minister Bernard, if you could comment on, this is also sort of a cultural shift, if you may, because we're moving from pen and paper to assumingly exclusively online platform. How do we encourage people to change their mindsets towards and to reduce skepticism about online platforms such as this one?
There's a lot of steps that we'll have to take, and it starts with education. We have to go out and educate our people in the use of technology and taking advantage of technology. But at the same time, I think over the past year and change, COVID has taught us that we had to use technology to be able to continue business in Belize. And so I do want to encourage our citizens to take advantage of it, especially our public servants. There is going to be a lot of capacity building, as highlighted, that has to take place. And we have the support of our ministers, our cabinet colleagues. In fact, their presence here today speaks volumes that they are committed. This government is committed. And through the vision and leadership of our Prime Minister, we are going to make this happen.
Thank you very much, Orson Pickard, Creme Television News. Can we get somebody technically to speak about the legal framework that needed to be put in place for all of this to actually come to fruition?
Hi, good morning. So I guess that would be me. So in regards to moving an economy forward into being one that's more digital, there are many aspects we have to think about. And the first thing is, how do we enable for businesses to be able to conduct transactions online. Not just the movement of money, but the movement of documents, being able to sign contracts. All of these are very important things, and hence why we have now amended and updated our Electronic Transactions Act. It now enables all forms of e-commerce. It allows every citizen the right to be able to use electronic signatures, which really means that you no longer need to print a paper and sign a paper for it to be valid, but now that you can sign those digitally, it's now valid. It will significantly improve the time of being able to transact overall. It's built on the model laws, the UN model laws, so it's very much based on best practices around the world. Apart from the Electronic Transactions Act, we also needed to acknowledge that we needed to protect our data, because at the core of what we're talking about is the sharing of information. The data, your data, my data, now becomes digitally available. How do we protect that? And hence why we have now implemented the Data Protection Act that the Minister spoke about. The Data Protection Act is based on the GDPR, which is the global standard for protection of people's data. And what it now definitely allows is that you as a Belizean at home, your rights is protected to your privacy. And it's not just government using your data, but everybody using your data now has to ensure that your privacy is protected. So that's very key and important, because what we're now doing is that you have an identity online, so we need to now protect you in that manner. We also have now the public sector data sharing bill, which while we're sharing data around government, we also need to do so within proper safeguards. We all know that the best way to have seamless services is for the once only principle, which means that if I come to Vital Statistics and I get a birth registration, then my birth registration information should be able to share with passport if they need to validate my parents' name. But how do we ensure that at all times you're protected? And that's what the public sector data sharing bill talks about, protecting you once more. What I want to highlight about these bills is that it's about the citizen. It's about the Belizean and ensuring that you're always protected in anything that involves digital technologies. Apart from those bills, we also have the Electronic Evidence Act. So acknowledging that sometimes crimes will happen online, we also needed to enable our judicial systems, so our lawyers, our judges, to be able to use these evidence online, that's created online, to now be able to prosecute criminals. And then, of course, we have the Cyberbullying Act that came in place the year before. And now what that means is that we are now protected. You're protected from cyberbullying, you're protected from cyber crimes. And as we all know, it happens not, especially right now in the very young generation when we're facing a lot of cyberbullying. So we needed to once more protect you as a citizen when you involve and transact online. So those are the main pieces of legislation that have now been implemented, all with the team to ensure that you're safe, you're secure, and we're also allowing you to be more innovative, more entrepreneurial in the digital realm, and hence going back to the essence of the National Digital Agenda, which is to build that trust, but at the same time, provide a foundation for our citizens to develop.
And then, Ms. Peralta, if you can also speak on some of the deliverables under this unit and time frame. I'm talking about meaningful deliverables, because oftentimes when we have these launches, it's just for the launch. But I think oftentimes the members of the general public would like to hear about some deliverables and time frames when those deliverables can be met.
Thank you, and I fully agree. I mean, the question is always, when will it happen? So the National Digital Agenda, while it's set in 4 years, it has specific programs that we're going to achieve within the 1 year. And actually, with the support of the IDB, we have already signed a project for a national identity system. We have also already signed a project for a data policy strategy, which will begin in early January for the year 2022. We also have a project that will be streamlined with the Embassy of Taiwan, so thank you, on digital inclusions, and we'll be developing and rolling out 5 pilot digital labs, primarily in rural areas, as well as conducting digital skills training, as well as executing our e-services portal, which I think is the sexy thing, if I can say it that way, that everybody wants to see online, and we do have that projected to be completed at least by the 4th quarter of next year. Besides these, we have different public awareness campaigns, especially about the legislations, because while we have enacted the legislations, it's important that as citizens we know what they mean, how it protects us, how can we use it to protect ourselves. So we'll be doing a comprehensive campaign actually starting this month. So I invite you to tune in on our Facebook page to learn more about those legislations, how they protect you, and how you can utilize it as well if any of your right is violated. Beyond legislations, we'll also be working with key partners in building capacities in systems such as electronic records management, content management, cybersecurity. If I can say, my action plan is huge. But 2022 in looking about ensuring that there's very high level, high impact projects, and we'll be sharing all of this information on our Facebook page. So I really and truly invite citizens to stay connected with us so that you can always learn more of what we're executing and how it's going to impact you.
And then finally, can you offer further insight into the digitalization process across ministries in terms of documents that are on paper and the move to actually get those into digital form and create a database that serves all ministries in terms of relevant documents? I think you had spoken somewhat about it, but if you can provide further insight into that process itself. Thank you.
Sure, but before I answer, I just want to highlight a very key thing that I missed and I shouldn't have. That soon enough, we will be piloting e-wallet solutions for government systems online. So, enabled to facilitate payments online. It's a big move, considering that many times you have to go physically to Treasury to make a payment. So I just wanted to highlight that citizens can expect to begin to be able to make payments online starting in January in the 1st quarter. So in relation to your question about records, certainly we are beginning to design a pilot and electronic records management system. It's important for us to not just PDF a document, but to truly digitalize it in a manner that allows us to search and use that data. So that's a process that we're now beginning and designing at the unit, which we call Phase 1. And in Phase 1, we'll be targeting specific ministries, high-level ministries, for us to begin that process with and to begin to put all of documents online. But I want to highlight that it's not something that has not begun. So I want to highlight that actually the business registry did an excellent job in doing the digitizing of their records. So it's amazing to see that records from the 19 or the 80s of business registration are now fully online. So we are already stepping and going there in that direction.
Good afternoon, actually good morning, Daniel Ortiz from Channel 7. The members of the head table, in full disclosure, I'm hoping to ask 4 questions of inquiries in relation to the launch. I'm hoping that the technical team will indulge my questions because I understand that the time is running out. But to jump right in...
Excuse me, Daniel, can we just limit it to 2 because we need to wrap up now? And if members of the head table are willing to meet you after, I'd like to ask you to indulge us in asking the questions afterwards, please.
Okay, so in relation to the transparency element, Mr. Prime Minister, the digital process that we are engaging in will allow for these great efficiency improvements, the ease of business, ease of services, but the transparency element, as the minister responsible for e-governance reminded us today, your government was elected on a platform of transparency in office. The manifesto, your Plan Belize promised, quote, "We will have good governance if we respect and believe fervently in the rule of law and accountability and transparency." The PUP promised to implement a government procurement process that is transparent. All information will be placed on the internet and made accessible to the public for their participation. And there was a promise that that information will be easily and readily available. So when will that happen? And is that going to be something that's a major element of the digitization that is launched here today?
Nothing has changed with our commitment to transparency and accountability and increasing the efficiency of government. That has not changed. But I need to remind you that Plan Belize is a 5-year plan. It's not a 1 month or 1 year plan. And you've been hammering this issue about transparency and transparency if we are deliberately not wanting to be transparent. We have been doing everything possible. I think to this date, we have been the most transparent government in Belize, certainly from the past 13 years. And it would be good if Channel 7 would sometimes recognize that, as opposed to just hammering and hammering as if we don't want to be transparent. We are committed, but it is a 5-year plan. And that is what we're working on. It took us a year right now to be able to be where we are. We're changing the pieces of legislation that allow us to get there. At the moment, we're working in setting up a procurement office that will centralize procurement, the procurement of government services and goods, and that will also have a digital portal, so where you can see what is out there, what needs to be applied, what you could try to, what services you could offer to government. We are moving towards that, and our commitment has not and will not change.
Sir, I guess the second question, since...
Daniel, I just wanted to add, if I can, I think it's important to recognize what the Prime Minister is saying in terms of openness, in terms of transparency. This has been far different than what you've all experienced. In fact, Channel 7 made an issue about one cabinet briefing coming out late. Well, I challenge you to find a cabinet briefing from the last 13 years, because there was none. But every single week there's a cabinet briefing coming out from this government. So in terms of openness, in terms of being transparent, in terms of informing the public, this has been a far different administration than what was experienced before, and we are living up to what we pledged in our Plan Belize initiative. I just wanted to add also that in terms of government jobs, open posts in the public service, we now have an online platform where citizens can apply for open posts in the public services. That was never done before. It was always an issue of who you knew in the government service. You didn't even know when there was an open post. You just found out through, somebody telling you, no, it's online, it's available, and people can apply. I just wanted to put that there as well.
But if I could just add one last thing to, you referred to a procurement process. I want to share that the Ministry of Finance is as well working in collaboration with the unit in coming up with a proper procedure that will be shared, and the IDB is assisting us through that process.
And then, sir, please enlighten me if I'm mistaken, but as far as we're aware, your administration hasn't published or posted any sort of contract awards, its revenue, and its expenditure. So, if it's available, please point us in the correct direction, sir, but when will there be a move towards that sort of information availability? And then secondly, there's been
Daniel, may I repeat again, this is a 5-year process. I mean, we can't get everything done in 1 day or 1 month or 1 year. For the very first time, we have gone to the House to whenever we want to do an appropriation bill, and we go to the House and we explain item by item, something that never has happened. But you the people, when it happened, man, look at what has happened. We are going to get there, but it is a 5-year plan. I even went so far last week from the House, since Your boss was crying, well, I still don't see the paper. I even went, I took the time, scanned it on my phone and sent it to him. I said, I just went through every single item explaining what we're doing. We are going to get there, but give us some time and give us some credit for what we do.
Sir, is
Daniel,
opening up the...
We just presented the Contractor General's report in the House on Friday.
Is opening up the smart stream system for public viewing and access, at least the spending aspects of it, is that too radical an idea to
Thank you, Daniel.
Respectfully, we can open a smart stream and with type of personal information. I think that argument that Jews like to ask, well, the free money, yes, it is the money, but there's also a lot of personal information that we can't open up, confidential information. BTL belongs to us, but we can't have BTL open up every single thing because there are certain things that you simply cannot open up. It is as if asking Channel 7, well, you are a public entity, since you're giving us information, then you need to open up every single, who are your owners, how much money your owners put, how much money they get. There are certain things that we simply can't make public. It has nothing to do about hiding or being secretive or don't want to make certain information.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I'm sorry, I'll have to ask the other members of the media to try to get the speakers outside. We do have to wrap up today. I'd like to thank our speakers for being here. This is a very exciting milestone achievement for the government of Belize. And if it's one thing I'm glad we're not going to make digital, it's food, right? And as we break for lunch today, I'd just like to remind everyone of the importance of today's launch of the National Digital Agenda, reminding you that it's based on inclusion, open government, innovation, and embracing new technologies. With that said, thank you very much for joining us today.
There's a freedom without, try to capture the lurch in a bedroom cup. There's a battle ahead, many battles are lost, but you never see the end of the road while you're traveling.